So today I am going to stick in this XLX2. This XLX2, I don't make any modifications to it. I don't remove any of the cables from it. As you see, I still have XT90s on it. I try to use this one as a test one for different RCs. So that's what I'm doing today. We're going to get the Game Changer fan taken off this. So this fan is going to be saved for something else. Bad thing is, on this RC, there's not much room, especially for a big ESC like the XLX2. And that's what I want to show you, is how we're going to mount this thing up, what we have to do to get it to fit into a Mojave. I've showed it how to go into, you know, the V2 limitless. Definitely wasn't like everybody's saying on the V2 limitless. They made the battery tray bigger to accept an XLX2, but the body doesn't fit on. So I don't know what good that did, because I had to cut the tray off anyway. Kind of like I used to cut the trays off on these to get them to fit in there. God, there is some serious stuff packed in here. Whenever I hit those wood chips, they get jammed up in the gears and get jammed up everywhere. And this is why I wanted to install the XLX2 on the last video when we did the upgrades. I had a feeling that when I did the motor swap that we weren't gonna pick up any speed. I've tried to say this before, and I've shown it before. Motor is not what's giving you your power. That's why running the 1250 kV over the 1717, we gained no speed changing the motor. And I've seen this occurrence before, to where if you're geared right, it doesn't matter if you're 1000 kV, 800 kV. It doesn't matter the kVs. The big thing that you have to look at when gearing is how heavy the RC is. That's number one. Choosing what kV you're going to push that heavy RC with. And most motors could care less what they're pushing. It's the ESC that really cares. ESCs, you know, Castle puts weight. I know Hobby Wing doesn't always put weight. Hobby Wing, on their specifications, they don't give you a lot of specifications when buying some of their products. Where I tapped in at the cat pack, we're going to have to take our regulator off this, and we'll have to solder it onto the XLX2 for the voltage regulator. And I'll show you how to do that. I really like the voltage regulator when it comes to fans, because you don't have to worry about what batteries you're running. You just plug in your batteries like normal, and you get on to business. You know, you're not worrying about, oh, I have the wrong balance port plug on it, so I have to run a separate battery, or I have to run a small battery to run the fans. And even at this point, you know, I really haven't had to. So we can unplug this here. That's going to go there. I really haven't had to really run fans. These are the ones we just soldered on. I could have left the motor the way it was and just hooked it up. Unplug our sensor wire. So the motor is disconnected now. There we go. Our ESC's almost undone. I gotta get these batteries charged up. And I'm thinking about doing a battery test. Just swapping out the batteries and seeing if we gain some speed. These batteries are pretty old, but that last voltage drop on the last data had me wondering if my batteries are finally getting too old. If you clean the area where you put your double-sided tape and you use 3M tape, they will stick like nobody's business. I'm still going to have to take that plate off. Now this system works good in a stock Mojave. Like I said, 8S on a stock Mojave works really good. So there we go. This ESC, amazing ESC Mamba Monster X 8S. Definitely a good ESC by Castle. I think it's one of the best, especially for a 10 scale. They work good on 7 scales. It's an 8 scale system, but I feel they work good on, you know, 7 scale. Really good on 10 scale if you're trying to run, you know, really good speeds on a 1/10 scale. This is the ESC I would recommend. It's really a good ESC. But the size difference on the power that they're going to put out, look at that. It's a huge power difference when it comes to this versus this. This is going to, the XLX2 is going to give us a lot more amps. It's going to put a lot more over to this 1717. It's really going to wake up the 1717. I did read comments saying, you know, people were saying just you should change out the motor too, and motor's just a motor. It doesn't care how fast it turns. It will care when it starts heating up. If you get too much heat into your motor, that's when they really start to care. So if you just watch temperatures, you can run any motor. Run a 6S motor on 8S, run a 3S motor on 8S. Even 6S, like I did on the Vendetta. I took a 3S motor, left it in there, and I run it on 6S to 114 with a stock RC. Everything else on that RC is stock. All we did was change out the ESC over 100 miles an hour. So I'm going to have to remove this because this XLX will not fit in here. So I'm going to end up putting this plate up in here. We're going to see which way it's going to sit so that the body's still going to go on, and we can mount the ESC up here. So that's what I'm going to work on next. Let me get this removed. Let me get set up because we're going to have to solder up some bullets. We're going to get this. I'm going to mount this plate up here. It's just the 4 screws for the top cover. Remove those 4 screws. This is going to bolt in its place. And we're going to lose this support bracket for the body, which I was really trying to keep. But in order to run this big ESC in this RC, it's what we got to do. So we'll be right back. for my batteries. Fabrication. That is like right on top of my batteries. Well, I mean, that's one way to hold them, but problem I'm faced with now is that if I try to run taller batteries like I was planning on doing, the SMCs, they won't fit in there because they're too darn tall. So it's like one battery choice. This RC has always had like one battery choice. Always. Sucks. And the other problem I'm faced with is that where the bar goes, it's hitting this mount. And I have to run that brace, so I'm just going to have to extend the bar a little bit and put a curve in the bar. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And this mess, there we go. Now let's see if we can get a body on this thing. The body will fit on. That goes right to the roof. There we go. That's the game plan. So I just blow-torched the other bullets off. Thought I was recording, wasn't, but I'm gonna let the wires cool down now. I won't be able to cut them because they're getting too short reach. So we're gonna have to make do, and hopefully they all fit in order. Let's see. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really tight, but it is what it is. Nice and full. So I tend to do it like this. so that my other two hands can be free. Then you just get some heat in it. As soon as that little ball of solder starts to melt in, that's when I know we're hot enough. We just keep feeding it in. Since the wire is already full of solder, shouldn't take much. It's just a bigger connector. Make sure it's filled. That's it. So I'm going to finish soldering this up. We'll be right back. All right. So what I've done is I've cleaned the wiring from the motor over here to the ESC. So now we have a mess here. So the way I've done it is the voltage regulator, change your voltage regulator, is mounted to the side of the ESC. That's going to keep a nice clean spot. I am worried about strapping these batteries here, but I'll have to figure that out. They do fit, and I don't think even with no strap they're going to go anywhere, but I got to get this strap under there. So I'm probably going to end up losing this, getting this, tucking this in there, and we're going to cinch them down as tight as we can, and that'll be good for the batteries. So what I have done, this is my ESC line now. This is an extension out of the box over to here. Now I don't need an extension because you can see all this wiring. So I don't need the extension. I am going to pull off the auxiliary wire. This white wire is going to go away. And this is going to plug into this so that I can read data on the outside now. But before I do all that, I'm going to go ahead and strip this wire to wire up the voltage regulator. It's just like a cat pack. Ground and power. And that's what we're going to do for this. And then clean up this wiring. So we're going to go ahead and remove the one terminal on this. Clean that up. This is going to be my channel number 2 that's going to go into that. So right now what I'm going to do is take the X-Acto knife like I showed before. I'm probably going to do it on the back side here, ground and power, so that when the battery lines are laid over, it's nice and clean. So I'm going to go ahead and just take an X-Acto knife, and I don't have to cut all the way around. All I got to do is make a square. Like that. And then we're going to do the same thing to the power. So now that that is done, and we're just going to solder power, ground, tape, and zip tie, just like I've shown in the past. And I really try not to strip. Try to keep your wires as long as possible, unless it's going to be a one-time install, which for me, you never know when you're going to total a car, especially speed running. If you total something, you got it, this system ends up in something else, you definitely want extra wire. So that's what all this stuff is. These fans go from cars to everything. We'll be right back as soon as the iron heats up, and we're going to get that soldered. All right, went ahead and got them soldered on. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tape this. We're going to throw a zip tie like I've showed, so that the tape doesn't come unraveled and the wire doesn't pull out. Because if for some reason that wire gets hot and my solder joint doesn't hold, the zip tie will hold everything into place. That should never happen, but you never know. And then you know what I might do? Instead of putting these terminals this way, I might turn the batteries around and put my battery connection back here now. I think that's going to just be cleaner overall. So I'll flip the batteries around. And then I went ahead and got this unplugged from the connector. So now we only have our one lead. There we go. And then this is going to end up zip tying over here. And we're going to plug this in and roll this up. It's a brown to black. Unless we go out and run 150 miles an hour on dirt. So now we should be able to plug our fan right into this. And then we're going to go ahead and clean up these wires. God, that's a pile of wires. Then our on and off switch. There we go. And then I'll power it up and make sure everything works. This has really been a pretty long process for trying to make an ESC fit in here. But let me grab the remote, make sure it works. All right, so let's power this thing up. I did have to calibrate the remote to this ESC because it was on a Spectrum and it wouldn't sync up right. Then I had to go in and reverse the motor rotation, so I basically had to set up the ESC. So everything should work now. There we go. All the fans are working, everything's working. Now I'm going to go in. I had to set all my sub trims to 0 again, so I got to go ahead and set up my steering dual rate, my throttle dual rate, my braking, all that stuff has to be set up again. New ESC, and then I do have to change some settings in the Castle Link, but other than that, we're set to go. So there we go. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.